Hello mọi người, chào mừng mọi người trở lại channel mình. Giờ thì hôm nay chúng ta tiếp tục với sự kiện đồng hành với Lynette. Cũng có gì để nói đâu, vào vô luôn. Này mở bài kém sáng tạo quá ta, cần phải thêm mở bài sáng tạo hơn. Đã bọc da đầu diện cha thật phải chứ.
Thank you both so much. Without the two of you, I always told myself that once I made enough mora, I'd get back to doing what I loved. But somehow, just like those critics with their dishonest reviews, I became all about the trappings of success. You're right. Yes, I'm a very lucky man. Anyway, enough about my problems. What are we going to do about the threat? I've been looking into it a lot over the past couple of days, but it doesn't seem like it was one of our competitors after all.
Ah, yes, about that. Lynette, do you have a moment?
Wait. Oh, Jillian's sister, right?
I'm sorry. Gina insisted on coming to see Lynette. Lynette, I'm sorry. That letter? I was the one who wrote it.
Lần lẽ quay sẽ tình hình là cho nó tự thú.
Gina? So it was you?
Director, it's time for... Oh, okay. Weird energy here.
Một cái kỳ lạ quá vậy. Kiểu như đang nói chuyện với chị như nhỏ. Thấy mình không trong một chuyện. Đó, thấy chưa?
Lynette, Gina must have been worried sick about me. I'm sure even she wouldn't do something so... Jillian, no! This is completely my fault. And I'm the one who should have to bear the consequences. I got the wrong end of the stick and completely misjudged Lynette.
Ok. Rồi, giờ thì coi Lynette nói.
Since I haven't actually suffered any losses, seeking redress could be difficult. Maybe we could just... Really? Are you sure? After all, Gina wouldn't be the first person to ever misjudge me, right?
True. Yeah.
In any case, I think we can all agree it was a misunderstanding and nothing more. No need to overcomplicate things. But still, I was wrong to write that letter. I should own up to my actions, make it up to you in some way.
Những người trẻ trong trẻ đội thật sự rất nồng.
If that's what you really want, then how about helping out backstage? Backstage? The crew could always use an extra hand. Plus, it'll give your older sister a chance to keep an eye on you. Thank you, Lynette. Really, thank you so much.
Buổi diễn sắp bắt đầu rồi.
Is it? I'm so much more at home here in the audience. I get to sit on a comfy seat, and I don't have to activate my energy-consuming modes all the time. Mary, you said she's a very promising young actress, and she has natural chemistry with her older sister. And there could... Freedom at last.
Một chút ít nó cũng không có nhỉ.
Fame is more trouble than it's worth. I'd rather leave that side of things to my brother and the others.
Với người gì thì tôi cũng chẳng mong chờ gì với việc danh tiếng gì đâu.
I'm happiest when I get to sit in a quiet place, watch them do their thing, and cheer them on. Yep, exactly like I'm doing now.
Xem lại lời mời rồi để gợi ý kết thúc nữa. Đây, 2 kết thúc rồi mọi người ơi, còn 3 cái nữa thôi. Đây, đây đi. Về nhờ tới trước cái khách sạn đúng không ta? Trước cái khách sạn này, chuyển qua đây thấy rồi.
I didn't like that. Clearly, there's some design flaws to iron out. I'll have to let Fremine know. Let's see. Whip 4. Well, the cards fell on the ground now, so I don't. If you want to get the right answer, you have to let fate decide. So, to put it another way, if pick. Or. Why don't you pick a card? Since I ran into you here, that means our fates are, like, interfering with each other. Thank you. This one here, take the fateometer. Also, if you have your own thoughts.
Để tôi thử coi, tôi không tin là tôi không móc ra được số lớn nào. Đây. Yeah, 18.
So, we're looking for Bonnie's owner? There's 20 cards in total, numbered 1 to 20. I should also mention, this time the cutoff was 5, but I just set that to wherever. To put it in perspective, I said I'd only do the show if I drew a 1. I think I'll go to the Steambird and see about putting an ad in the paper.
Rồi, đi thôi. Mấy khi được như thế này. Mấy khi được hẹn với gái trong game đâu mình em phải tận dụng thời cơ chứ. Hy vọng có thể làm hết tất cả các kết thúc ở trong vòng một video thôi.
Every stupendous day starts with a Steambird. Oh, hi Lynette. Hi Traveler. What can I help you with?
Để hỏi con có ủy thác tìm đồ lạc không?
I don't think so. Have you picked up a stray?
Yep. If there's no commission to follow up on.
Why, of course. What a kind thing to do. Just fill out the form.
Well, we've registered you as me. Also, I just wanted to say thanks. Well, I should probably head back to the drinks reception. If you've got some time, you should stop by my place tomorrow to see Bonnie. There's a nice cup of tea in it for you.
Tôi rất sẵn lòng.
See you then.
Đợi hôm sau 7 giờ tới 9 giờ. Rồi, làm thần thời gian thêm em, time control đi. 7 giờ, ở đây 7 giờ này, 7 giờ 5 phút, 6 giờ 59. Được rồi. Về. Dưới à.
I believe this cat belongs to me.
I already told you, this isn't your cat.
Cái đầu gì đây?
Just take a breather, you two. Oh, you're here. As you can probably see, you'll have to take a rain check on that.
This is my friend's cat. He's preoccupied with some important business, so I came to retrieve her in his stead.
Okay.
No, it's far more likely this cat escaped from the Humane Society.
Hai người này đều không được tự nhiên.
Bonnie?
That's the name I've given her in the meantime.
Chỉ là thất bại.
Well, this complicates things.
I told you before.
Listen, I'm the director of the Humane Society, okay? She just looked somewhat familiar, so I came to check, just in case. If she turns out to be one of ours, I'll take her back. Simple as that. Even if that's... we're an organization that specializes in rescuing and sheltering stray animals.
The Humane Society. Huh. The name sounds familiar.
Điều này...
I remember hearing good things. Near the one in the Quartier Lyonnais?
Điều này...
Yes, that's the one. Anyway, if it turns out I really am mistaken...
It belongs to my friend.
Go on, Bonnie.
Đi nào.
Oh, nope. Looks like I was mistaken. They do look similar, but there's an well, I suppose this means I still have a missing...
Wait a second.
Right?
The liar always has a tell. The look in their eyes, their breathing pattern, the way they hold themselves.
What are you talking about?
Normally, when someone is called out, their breathing speeds up as they begin to panic. But your breathing pattern hasn't changed one bit. If you're a bad guy, I'm sure you'll take off running the first chance you get. If you're a good guy...
And you're basing this off of?
Intuition. Nothing more.
Intuition. You're right. I'm a member of the guards. The name's Elodie. I'm currently investigating a cross-border smuggling case. A couple of days ago, our suspect got wind that we were on his tail and fled. That's most likely. I just so happened to stumble upon your notice in the Steambird. So, I decided to see if he'd come back for her. But... looks like I overestimated him. The impact of this case has been huge. The Marechaussee Phantom, the guards, and the Special Patrol have all launched investigations. If there was even the slightest chance that he would show himself, I had to follow up on the lead.
Thứ
A
buồn
new
lậu.
kind of illegal drug, imitation synth.
Xin the giả.
We confiscated all the synth on the market, but addiction isn't something that goes away overnight. Even without substances on the market, people are still looking for a way to get their next fix.
Xin the cái thứ được tạo ra như là từ cái nước biển khởi nguyên đó mọi người. Hồi trước là trước cái vụ ma thần là trước khi ông Lynette làm cho người dân Fontaine trở thành con người thiệt á.
And criminals are all too eager to capitalize on that addiction. That was the impetus for imitation synth. After the original synth debacle, we put several measures into place to prevent similar incidents from occurring. The perpetrators got smart, though, and shifted their sales overseas before those measures could kick in. We only recently got word of the presence of imitation synth overseas. We managed to track down evidence of some early transactions. What we were able to find out, however, hasn't proven that useful given the amount of time that has passed.
Nghe cũng
The
lớn.
Marechaussee Phantom launched an investigation to track down every person in Fontaine capable of producing a drug like that. He's a researcher at the Fontaine Research Institute. His name is Pierre.
Pierre.
Pierre Lafayette, to be exact.
Lefebvre. Okay.
Lefebvre.
The Marechaussee Phantom found him in Poisson. In addition to the cat, he also had a pendant with him. At first, there wasn't much cause for suspicion. A search of his house didn't reveal much to go off of either. The Marechaussee Phantom very nearly left it at that. It was only later that we realized the coat of arms on his pendant belonged to none other than the Lefebvre family. Obviously, this discovery prompted a further investigation into Pierre. At that point, however...
That's not possible, actually. The Lefebvre family has been gone.
Exactly. Many years ago, several important members of the family, including the patriarch, were murdered. The family is engaged in all manner of crimes. As you can imagine, there's no shortage of people waiting in the wings to take their revenge. And with the family severely weakened, they were able to do just that. Most of the remaining family members succumbed to sickness or hunger. Pierre is one of those very survivors. He's been hiding away in the Fontaine Research Institute all these years. His true identity unbeknownst to all. And, well, my fellow guards have told me all about how smart and courageous you both are. And I admit there could be a chance that Pierre, or one of his accomplices, might attempt to get close to Bonnie. Now that you've been briefed on the situation, I was hoping you'd help us keep a lookout. If I take Bonnie back to the guards with me, there's no way Pierre will try and come for her. Not even the most daring of criminals would attempt something like that. I have to admit, I'm not holding out too much hope that Pierre will come back for her. Well, I've got some other leads to follow up on.
It's nothing. It's just the head of the Lefebvre family. He was the eminent person who kidnapped me all these years ago.
Tôi có nhớ cái câu chuyện này của nhiệm vụ ma thần mà khi mà Lynette với Lynette bị bắt á.
It was at a dinner
Của
party.
phiên bản á, mấy ta?
Someone tricked me into
4.1,
boarding the Lefebvre
4.1,
family carriage.
4.1 thì vậy, 4.1, 4.2 hả?
Before anything worse could happen, Father intervened.
Thì đó là chuyện này.
Father was the one who orchestrated the fall of the Lefebvre family.
Tôi có nhớ tới
That's what
cái
led
câu chuyện
Lenny
đó.
and I to join the House of the Hearth.
Chỉ nhớ tốt quá ta.
After all these years,
Ừ.
I never thought I'd hear the Lefebvre name again. Don't worry about me. I wasn't feeling sorry for myself. He's been acting strange recently. He avoids me for days on end, consumes himself with some secret investigation, and then out of the blue pushes me to do that acting job. Thinking about it now, it's almost like the one I drew from that deck of cards was part of his plan all along.
Chắc là
I
Lynette
must
biết
have
mà.
asked Fermine to help him out.
Lynette có nhiều trò lắm.
And it's very possible. I'm sure he tried to send me away because he was afraid it would bring up some painful memories for me. It wasn't necessary though.
Cho sao quá.
Even after all these years, he's still as overprotective as ever. You'll have to help me teach him a lesson if we run into him along the way. Yep. I want to head to the Fontaine Research Institute to learn more information about Pierre. Just let me activate search mode and then we'll head out. Who knows? Maybe we'll run into Lenny along the way.
Ok.
A little bit of both, perhaps. For the most part, though, I just have the sense that something's not right. Something. Okay, I'll write a letter explaining everything to the crew.
Đi nào.
Lynette, you're not at rehearsal?
Nghe giọng lắp bắp hiểu không nội ơi, đừng giấu nữa.
We can drop the act, brother. In fact, I don't think either of us will have a need for acting anytime soon.
And that's why I tried to distract you with the masked mime show. But I guess you're just too good.
Care to introduce us to your new assistant?
This is Officer Shovros, captain of the Special Security and Surveillance Patrol.
Nice to see you.
Sao không gặp?
I should clarify something. Mr. Linney's here at my invitation, not the other way around. To
Ok.
borrow your expression, Miss Lynette, I suppose that would make him my assistant more than anything.
Ok.
We've brought on Mr. Linney as a consultant in the past. He was instrumental in helping us crack a case involving a perpetrator who used magic tricks to commit crimes.
So you've heard everything then?
Không biết mới sợ.
That's exactly why we're here. There's always been questions surrounding the fall of the Lefebvre family. Whoever was behind it all was extremely cautious. They didn't leave a shred of evidence. This very fact, however, leads me to believe it was indeed the work of that harbinger. I took a look at the entrance and exit records of all the carriages that night. Let's just say it wasn't hard to deduce that there's ill will between you two. Don't worry, I don't have any evidence to that effect, and I certainly don't plan on going to bat for such a despicable family. Plus, you were victims back then more than anything. I sought Mr. Linney's help with the smuggling case. Nothing more. The way I look at it, it's a collaboration between us as people, not at all. I was planning to invite you from the very beginning, Miss Lynette. It's just that my assistant here raised some objections. Linny, I'm not the same person I was back then. That little girl who did nothing but cower in the corner in fear, she doesn't need saving anymore.
I'm sorry, Lynette. You're right. I let my concerns get the better of me.
Oh, and the next time you want to distract me, you should try a different approach.
Who's this? You pick up a stray while I was gone?
It's a bit complicated. I'll explain later. Well, if there are no objections, then I suppose the only thing left to say is... Lynette, Traveler, welcome to the team.
It appears the Lefebvre family was very particular in their use of insignias and emblems. The family would use different emblems to mark differences in status, blood relation, and the like. In fact, the insignia that was discovered on the pendant was used to represent an illegitimate child.
It's highly likely. That very status might have been what allowed him to emerge from the fall of his family relatively unscathed. It would also explain why he was able to assume a new identity as a researcher with relative ease.
We discovered something interesting, though. After
Đồ
talking
biết
to
phải nói
some
gì
of his
nữa mà.
co-workers, it appears he pretty much works at the Institute in name only. He's practically been cast out.
Apparently, Pierre was once addicted to synth. He tried to use the resources at the Institute to create a substance with a similar effect.
Bị nghiện à? Nghe là sợ rồi.
He claimed it was just for research purposes, but the Institute revoked his access to the relevant materials regardless. But it seems the Institute ran into some trouble along the way. Could have been a lack of personnel or a timing issue. As for his family background, it appears none of his co-workers at the Institute were aware of that information. All they could tell us was that he was quite
Nơi có thằng cha
dangerous.
đỡ còn mọi nơi.
Other than the pendant, we didn't find anything else of note at his residence in Poisson. Based on the samples of imitation synth we've been able to analyze, it appears the substance leaves behind strong traces wherever it's produced or stored. Those traces might not be obvious to the casual observer, but they're not something our guard poodles would miss. Pierre's, we didn't find any records indicating possible involvement in overseas transactions either. So, the Marechaussee Phantom didn't view him as a major suspect. Maybe he had a separate, dedicated...
Well, his neighbors did say he was often gone for long stretches of time. If his reclusive nature was just a matter of keeping a low profile,
After he disappeared, the guards conducted a thorough search of Poisson. They didn't... Poisson. You know Hotel de Boer, where I first found Bonnie? To get there from Poisson, you have to cross a stretch of ocean. A cat? You mean... Bonnie is Pierre's cat. Oh, that's right! When the Marashose Phantom first tracked him down, I remember there being something about a cat in their report. So this is her?
From what we've learned about Pierre's habits, he doesn't seem like the type to venture out without a purpose. So what you're saying, Lynette...
Exactly. Bonnie might even know where it is. Wait, you think the cat can lead us there? But she's not trained like one of our guard poodle.
Huấn luyện à? Để tôi thử xem. 12. Đây. Yeah, 15. Yeah.
Near the coast, the beach, beneath the cliffs. Well, I've certainly never taken a witness statement like this before.
Well, if it works out, maybe it's something worth getting used to.
Cats and humans are actually pretty alike. When it comes to communication, most of what we want to convey can be accomplished through body language alone. But of course, body language has its limitations.
The important thing is that we now have a lead.
Rồi, chúng ta đi nào. Mèo, nhớ thế nhỉ? 2 con. Các hoàng thượng xâm chiếm thế giới này nè mọi người ơi. Đâu thế nhỉ? Ở đây. Gần đây luôn. Có cái di chuyển, ngay cái di chuyển luôn. Tiện thế nhỉ? Đây. Có khiêu chiến này không đây?
Seems like Bonnie is trying to take us somewhere.
Thế nào?
Gardamex ahead.
Look out! Germinate! Propagate!
Shower me with praise. Time to shine.
Bắt thế nhỉ? Có thêm.
Don't be scared. Hey, go away. Let the world collide. Stop that.
Scatter!
Không. Quá là đơn giản luôn. Đang quay nó hơi lắc kìa.
Wow, Lynette, you found this place so easily. If I thought there was any chance you'd say yes, I'd recruit you into the Special Patrol here and now. No questions asked.
Sounds familiar. I pretty much receive letters daily from people trying to poach her from me.
Let's just focus on our search.
Đây, điều tra.
Aha! Just as we thought. Looks like he's got more than just imitation synths stashed around here. In addition to the raw materials
Chắc
needed
phải
to synthesize
loại
the
thuốc
substance
không rõ là
itself,
gì.
these cleaning agents are likely used to dispel traces of the substance. The Special Patrol did some digging into imitation synth. Our records indicate that it's very difficult for ordinary people to detect traces left behind by the stuff. I'm sure that was the case for Pierre as well. It must have taken a considerable amount of time and skill to ensure all... But what are these other drugs for?
Qua gì đây? Túi đây.
The material these bags are made of. It's the very same, actually. Romaritime flower fiber. But there's something special about the composition of these bags. Even the strings look specially designed to keep the bags closed nice and tight. I came across some bags made of the same material just now, but they were much smaller and thinner. From the look of them, they seemed far less durable as well.
hơi giống túi
Very
dự phòng.
similar, actually. Normally, it would be easy for a guard poodle to sniff out the imitation synth, but if it was sealed away in a bag like that, it might be possible to elude detection for some time.
Tinh vi thế
But
nhỉ?
what could these big bags be for then? If the goal is to keep the imitation synth hidden and sealed away, these bags seem a bit too conspicuous.
Điều tra manh mối thứ ba. Đây à.
When the Marechaussee Phantom searched Pierre's house, there was no sign of these barrels, right? You're right. Only the lower halves of the barrel.
Là thả bằng đường biển à.
Based on the various ingredients we found, this appears to be where Pierre was cooking up. It looks like he used a special cleaning agent to get rid of any residual traces of the substance on his person before he left. That's
Đúng
how he
rồi.
was able to get past the guard poodles.
Đã phạm pháp còn phạm pháp ở nhà đó, thấy mẹ rồi. Ôi trời ơi.
So then he transferred the imitation synth into small sealed bags.
No, I don't believe our suspect is the kind of person who'd go around carrying it. The cleaning agent and the sealed bags might get past the guard poodles. But if a member of the public or even a guard on patrol happened to see him during the drop-off. The barrels we found were wet around the base, but the top half was dry. If you put a barrel in the water, it will normally float on its side.
Yes. With flotation rings around the body of the barrels, they'd stay upright in the water. And then he could afford to load them more fully.
Giống như cái phao quá mọi người. Cái phao. Đó, đây nè.
You think he used floating barrels? I suppose if he acted at night, when there are very...
But then, wouldn't the barrels be carried off by the waves or the currents? How would the person doing the pickup know where to look?
Traveler, can you come take a dip in the sea with me?
Bơi nào. Đây.
This isn't the place.
Ở trong khu này nè. Chết luôn. À, nó còn quái này. Sao lại tới đúng chỗ này vậy?
The wreckage of a small boat?
Sao hiện giờ?
This isn't the place.
Không ngờ đây hả phải con quái quỷ đó. Chết tiệt. Làm có gì? Đây là tao quay lại chiến hai đứa mày là mày chó. Cái nào là ta? Chưa. Như này nè. Đây, đây.
Got it. Time to go up and report.
Chờ đi con chó, tao sẽ tới để trả thù sao?
It's been a while since we last visited the Knights of Avonius. Paimon wonders what Teen and Lisa have been up to recently. Let's go pay them a visit.
Wow, có sự kiện mới luôn. Đây thì coi map chỗ nào đây? Đây. Đánh dấu lại. Chờ tao lấy con chó.
As expected, we found a few pieces of rope and some anchoring stones underwater. With this anchoring system, it would be possible to use floating barrels for the drop-off. We also came across the wreckage of a small boat. It must have been left out on the water and capsized due to the force of...
Let's talk this through. Based on the evidence we've collected, it seems like Pierre would row a small boat out to the agreed-upon transfer point, drop off the barrels, leave, and then row back and retrieve them after the transfer was complete.
It could be that he was trying to avoid meeting up with his associate face-to-face. As one of the sole survivors of the Lefebvre family, maybe he was just used to that sort of elusive lifestyle.
It seems like Pierre deliberately chose the floating barrel method so that the goods could be dropped off and picked up at separate times. That way, the two parties wouldn't have to meet each other.
Well, if that's the case, they must not have a very close working relationship.
Let's not jump to any conclusions just yet. Assumptions can be detrimental to solving a case. It's possible they were just trying to keep a low profile. Two boats sailing to the same location at once can be too conspicuous. The most important thing is that we can now confirm Pierre wasn't acting alone. Let's say for now that he was only in charge of producing the imitation synth. That would mean there has to be at least one other person involved in the operation. Likely in charge of transporting the goods across the border.
Okay.
Since we've determined that the goods were transported by boat, maybe we can track down some travel logs or something.
We can certainly check the various ports for that information. It's possible, however, that Pierre's associate also used a small boat for the transport. Absolutely. Before Pierre disappeared, we made sure to investigate all. Unfortunately, we were never able to find out how they managed to get the imitation synth across the border. You're right. Whatever vessel was used for the pickup, the person responsible for smuggle, they must have found a way to disguise the imitation synth to clear port inspections. Exactly. We can't let any opportunities slip through the cracks. Although,
I'll run home and ask some of my brothers and sisters to try and dig up some information.
I should also head back and update my platoon on our progress. I'll grab some reinforcements while I'm at it. Lynette, Traveler, why don't you head to Lumiduce Harbor and see what you can find out?
Okay.
Alright. Come on, Bonnie. You too.
Oh, Lynette, Traveler. And Bonnie, too. What brings you all here?
Did something happen?
See, I'm in charge of guarding the port. You mentioned you were after some travel logs, right?
Looks like I've got another hard day of work ahead of me. No, not usually. It's this incident that happened recently. Before that, everything was normal. All we had to do was confiscate anything suspicious and we could call it a day. Pretty simple stuff. But things are much more complicated now. We somehow let suspicious cargo pass
By suspicious cargo, do you mean?
Yep. However, prohibited substances are just one example.
So what happens to the goods you confiscate?
Oh, we keep them in a storage locker. If the goods are only slightly
Sorry for the wait. These are...
Oh, you brought Gerard with you.
Actually, he followed me here himself. I wonder why Gerard is reacting to you two so strongly.
We were so careful not to touch it, but we still ended up with traces on us.
Why don't you have a look at the travel logs for...
Hội nhân ái.
The Humane Society. Their name is all over the exit logs. The purpose for...
the director of the organization explained that, actually. He said a lot of the cat and dog...
Bernard, the director of the Humane Society. Have you figured it out too, Traveler? When Bernard asked to take a closer look at Bonnie, he was actually checking whether there was any imitation synth in her.
No. Wait, what?
The sealed bags we found at the secret base. They were specially made to be corrosion resistant. There were gaps around the lids of the barrels, and airbags were used to keep them upright in the water. Those drug shovers found at the secret base. She most likely didn't recognize them because they're not used on human Pierre. Must have made the animals swallow the sealed bags full of imitations.
The sealed bags combined with an animal's body odor would certainly be enough to mask.
During our inspections, we would have never thought to inspect the bellies of those animals for anything suspicious.
Exactly. I bet Bernard even transported animals with scent in their stomach alongside ones without. That way, it would be... she's probably in the clear. Otherwise, Bernard would have never left without her. I'm guessing he didn't know whether Pierre had already... Just imagine. He sees the notice we put in the Steambird, and if Pierre had already hidden the next batch of imitation synth, then Bonnie would practically...
So, that's why he came to find you and insisted on taking a closer look at the cat.
Wait a second, I'm a little lost here. I get the part about hiding the substance in the... If you've got something as convenient as a floating barrel, what?
In order to make sure the animals could swallow the sealed bags, they made them extremely thin. Had they not done that, the animals would have likely bitten her. That step would have required a lot of energy, as well as a certain amount of time. We've already proven how easy it is to pick up trace amounts of imitation synth. So
Okay. Then, let's head to the Humane Society right away and bring that guy to justice.
Để lôi sợ rồi con. Hèn chi tôi thấy là những cái này kỳ nha. Đúng là mọi thứ trên đời này đều liên quan tới nhau, không gì là trùng hợp ngẫu nhiên mọi người ạ. Không gì là trùng hợp ngẫu nhiên đâu.
The headquarters of the Humane Society should be somewhere around.
Here are the people from earlier.
After him! We can't let him get away!
Mày thích chạy đường trời nào con chó này. Bắt được rồi con chó.
Give it up, Bernard.
Mercy, have mercy. I'll talk. I'll tell you everything I know.
the Humane Society has done so much good over the years, and yet you have committed such an atrocious deed in its name.
Look, I didn't have a choice, okay? My father cared about those blasted animals so much, he didn't bother to take care of his human wife and son at all. Well, those...
No one asked. Tell me.
Well, after I took over the Humane Society, it gradually became harder and harder to maintain. It's said that I could stand to get a large sum of money as long as I helped them to transport some animals abroad. It was only after then Pierre wrote to me, saying that we were already
You knew it from the very beginning, didn't you? The reason why you had to...
I'd suggest that you confess everything right now if you don't...
Yes, officer! I would order wooden barrels and flotation devices according to his instructions, and then load the sleeping animals onto a boat. And a few days after that, I'd come by again in my boat and pick up the animals sleeping in the bed. That guy, Pierre, he was running the entire show. Look, I don't know, okay? I've never, ever met him.
And when did he send his final letter?
Just last night. He said that the Marechaussee Phantom is now after him, so he's planning to go into hiding for some time.
It's been a few days since Pierre's last appearance. I'd wager...
I burned them. It was on his order.
Sure sounds like you're trying to use the lack of witnesses or evidence to pin the blame on Pierre.
No, I swear, this time I'm only telling...
Well, we can check the truth of your statements at the Opera House. I hope you know what'll be coming.
I know. I swear I was just telling the truth.
Nhìn khổ vậy.
Bonnie helped too.
That's true. It was all thanks to her that Bernard was finally exposed. And it looks like she's grown quite fond of you too.
Chuyện thời.
It was that obvious, huh? Well, even we investigated so quickly that perhaps we've missed a thing or two along the way. Let me activate deduction. Is there still anything unresolved? The Marechaussee Phantom found...
Đi vậy. Mặc cái chuyện đi vậy. Giao dịch luôn. Đi vậy. Thôi. Đi vậy. Coi. Liên tưởng. Kết quả liên tưởng. Hiểm nghi ban đầu. Đi vậy. Giao dịch vật nuôi. Hiểm nghi ban đầu.
Why would he leave such an obvious trail for us to... Bernard claims to have received a letter last night from Pierre. In the letter,
Đi mà không đi vậy. Đi vậy lại phải. Không mình nhắc đến địa điểm bỏ trốn nhưng điều này cũng phù hợp với phong cách của Pierre. Cách thức sẽ là trở thành Bonnie. Cách thức chuyện rất khó.
if Bonnie had imitation synth in her body, and thinking about it, Bernard only attracted our attention in the first place. Could it be that the person who wrote the letter also knew nothing about Bonnie's whereabouts? Well, we've discovered that Bernard is responsible for the trafficking.
Như vậy. Rồi, mình tới sao không bao giờ. Họ sử dụng tôm nói. Nhiều như vậy. Bị cấm túc và chế không cái nguyên liệu thô từ content. Như vậy. Được lợi nhuận sau mỗi chuyến hàng chỉ cần thông qua sổ sách hội nhân ái, chứ không định được cái gì. Mọi người lý giải. Điều tra cấm túc.
Yeah, according to Bernard, Pierre also supplied all of the goods. But if the Marechaussee Phantom's records are correct, Pierre should have lost all access to the materials required to create the imitation synth. And the Institute has also not reported any theft of their stocks.
Tụi ấy bật mod setup home rồi, tụi ấy bữa nào tôi tải game setup home về tụi mình chơi, rồi quay video.
The final question is, why did I sense that something wasn't right after hearing
Chưa từng gặp mặt. Còn có người thứ ba.
Deductive mode deactivated.
Đây.
Now behave and.
Ow! That hurt. Ow!
Ok. Đoạn ngay số 1.
Is there something else you need from me, traveler?
Huh?
I see. It all makes sense now.
Hey, what are you talking about?
Because he has been kept in the dark all along. And I assume it's the same with Pierre. That never quite added up for me. Why did Pierre feel compelled to return to his home with Bonnie independent and make both of these things are in stark contrast? He probably received the following instructions right before the Phantom came knocking on his door. Bring the cat and the pendant, and unbeknownst to him, however, the third person who wrote that letter to him had long decided to sacrifice him and Bernard to save themselves.
What?
If you focus only on Bernard's testimony, it's easy to believe that only Bernard and Pierre were working.
Wait.
Yep, which is why the third person made sure that Pierre would never be. Once they had instructed Pierre to expose himself, the third person wrote to Pierre again, suggesting that everything had been taken care of. Of course, Pierre's disappearance at such a sensitive time immediately made all the third person would have to do from that point on would be to lead the Phantom to investigate the Humane Society and get Bernard to confess the truth.
Wait. So you're saying that the letter I received yesterday...
Is that what happened?
Chevra said that assumptions can be detrimental to solving a case. Someone among us, however, they suggested that Pierre's disappearance was an attempt to escape the judgment of the law. But if the disappearance is truly just a cover-up for a murder, then couldn't the true son have been an illegitimate daughter rather than an illegitimate son?
Huh?
Haven't you taken this joke a bit too far? You're right. I did let a lot of assumptions get to my head when I first started to talk to you about the case.
Cũng hợp lý.
I'll make sure to correct my
Cũng
behavior.
rất hợp lý đó nha. Không bao giờ thoát được đâu.
You deliberately
Tôi cũng
fed
thấy
us
ngờ nhỏ
lies,
từ đầu.
but even you could not control every last detail of your plan. Getting the Marechaussee Phantom to notice Pierre was only the first part of your plan. Had they failed to take notice of the Humane Society, they could, and you couldn't predict what they might possibly find if given enough time. This, of course, was the main weakness of your plan. As someone accustomed to acting from behind the scenes, you didn't want to take the risk of personally proposing a raid on the Humane Society. Once the Phantom expanded their search, it would only be a matter of time before they found Pierre's base. It wouldn't be long until the Phantom would figure out exactly how she had been mistreated and turn their eyes towards the one organization that has been sending. It was probably during your ambush of Pierre. You didn't even have the time to check if she had already been stuck. Still, you soon found another opportunity. Before long, Bonnie had made her way back into the... Like Bernard, you desperately wanted to confirm the contents of her stomach, so you hurried to find us. Unlike Bernard, however, you were hoping that Pierre did have the time to... While investigating the suspect's cat, we unexpectedly discovered that the suspect has been smuggling imitation synth using living animals as intermediaries. That was, Bonnie had managed to escape before Pierre was able to stuff her full of imitation synth. He manipulated the Traveler and I to help you identify Bernard as a key suspect. You used the Lefebvre name as bait to get us to join your investigation. With 2 extra bodies around, the Special Patrol is sure to soon take note of the strange event of Bernard somehow having a reason to look for Pierre's cat.
Đúng là nó có rất nhiều kẽ hở và không có gì là vô tình cả.
So, what you're saying is, I went to all that trouble just for the...
Of course, you did far more than that. Just now at Lumidu's harbor, were you not the person who highlighted the suspicious activity?
Là tự mình bóp ứa chính mình
You
rồi.
even
Ủa
highlighted the
rồi.
Society's activities during your compilation of the logs, so they'd be immediately visible to anyone examining the records. Moreover, the logs contained no records of the Port Authority's activities. In other words, your activities.
And what are you trying to suggest with that?
I am insinuating that you had plenty of opportunities to transfer the raw materials for imitation synth from the harbor to a boat. And that's how neither the trafficker nor the manufacturer knew there was a third person who supplied the raw materials and surreptitiously operated between them. Pierre manufactured imitation synth using the raw materials you provided. Having received the green light from you as Pierre, Bernard then retrieved his animals and shipped them out of Fontaine once he had received enough for a full batch.
I can't believe it. I never put two and two together.
So what do you think she's going to say next?
But do you have any evidence?
It appears that it's quite easy to predict what you'll
Đó
think
để
or
chiều
say.
đọc vị mà
Then if
đó.
we apply that to this case, we can also think of a few places to look for. You know very well that this case will not end until Pierre is found. So you will have him commit suicide. That way, you can also pin the blame for the overseas smuggling activities, the theft of the harbor, but you still want it to appear as if he had sent that last letter to Bernard. So you have to make sure he can't. To do that, you either will hide his body until you found an appropriate time to set up a fake suicide scene. The location would ideally allow you to keep the body hidden for some time while also letting you keep an eye on it. There are only so many options to hide a person's time of death after all, especially since, as the prime suspect who will—
How absurd. And on what grounds will you order—
Elodie Lefebvre! As the captain of the Special Security and Surveillance Patrol, I hereby declare you as a suspect.
That's right. We received a message from Lumiduce Harbor that you were going to investigate the Humane Society.
While at the harbor, we noticed something else extremely interesting. And if one were to match the times of your shifts to the activities of the Humane Society and those of certain foreign ships, they'd find them to be an exact match.
That's just a coincidence.
Yes, I'm sure you have already thought of a dozen different ways to explain away the suspicious activities. But as far as evidence goes, that should—
Don't worry. If it turns out that the guards are still unable to find any evidence after all this, Lynette—
Although judging by her reaction, I assume no follow-up from us will be—
The Lefebvres were infamous for using disguise and infiltration to achieve their goals.
Judging from the timeline, they likely arranged for you to enter the guards before the fall of the clan. But they probably didn't expect you to turn it to your—
Not only that, but you actively participated in the interrogation, arrest, and judgment of the Lefebvres during their fall, thus clearing yourself. You brutally and cruelly abandoned your allies as soon as they outlived their usefulness, just like a lizard cutting off its own—
So you played me like a fool after all?
What was that word you used? They were worthless scum. All of them. Not just Bernard and Pierre. I lost all my chances of a normal life just because I was born into their lot. Not only that, but I had to live in constant fear of them while they were alive. And even once they were gone, I had to continue to bury my heritage and my name. Always worrying that there— Do you know anything about what I've been through over all these years? My life as the last Lefebvre?
I don't, and neither do I care.
Are you—
Elodie, you're the only one still living under the shadow of a name.
That's enough. Keep your hands where I can see them and do not resist arrest.
What a joke. What a joke! Hey! Don't come any closer.
What's that?
Know what this is? I've seen whether they're cats, dogs, or just unlucky human employees. Surely, you bunch of goody two-shoes won't let that happen, right?
mười lăm.
Did you think I was...
Not good. She's trying to escape. We need to end this fight as soon as possible.
You play, yeah? This dance is for you.
Propagate! Busted so quickly, huh? Good thing... Ah!
Phew. So I was right after all. This is it.
Guess that's probably why she suddenly flipped and knocked out Bernard. He probably knew that there were no explosives at the society.
Well, given that she never even showed her face to Bernard and Pierre, I had my doubts that she'd have gone to...
Thank you for your help, everyone. I'll take them back for thorough
If statements are all you need, can Lenny provide them on my... I still need to go back and explain some things to the crew. A lot has happened since then. I'm referring to when I invited... Once I'm done talking with...
You must have spent a record-breaking amount of time in serious mode today. I can't remember the last time I've seen you like... Based on information that we found before, I'd assume that the first offerings of imitation... Elodie saw the opportunity to make it great. She started writing to him and Bernard. Unfortunately for her, she ran into Lynette. Even though my sister doesn't like to focus too much on a regular day, serious... Still, all of that thinking really saps her energy.
Mọi thứ đơn giản để được ngủ. Cốt truyện nút thắt ghê quá. Hay làm nhiệm vụ mà cốt truyện quá ta. Cốt truyện nút thắt thì ghê. Này gì hết. Cốt truyện nói chung là cốt truyện đồng hành này thì khá thuộc diện. Nhưng mà cũng gần tiếng rồi sao lúc nào cũng phải chuyện tiếng nữa không.
Black tea and a cute kitty. Want some? I hope you'll like it. Not at all. Information is indeed very important. But if you were to try to collect every piece of information... Plus, if you just think about it, what sounds more fun? Writing a statement or... Great answer. That'd be my pick too. Had we not run into that case, we could have spent the entire day like this. You're right. I can sense it. I'm recharging very quickly at the moment. Something about her rubbed me the wrong way since the very beginning. But to be more precise, Elodie tried to get close, but Bonnie deliberately dodged her. Maybe Bonnie had tried to evade her before at Pierre's... Not everyone who likes cats is a good person. But if cats like you, you're probably alright. Humans tend to overthink things, but cats rely on their instincts. She took a liking to you the moment you met.
Bộ bay và thám tử. Ok. Hay thế nhỉ. Nó vẫn là một video dài và color khác.